Just a few years ago, walking into a grocery store was simple: grab what you needed, pay, and go. But now, that same trip feels like checking into a hospital and seeing the bill. Everyday items are flying off shelves, not because people are buying them, but because they're too expensive to even touch. In this video, we're revealing 17 shocking grocery items that used to be staples in millions of homes, but now cost so much, shoppers are just saying no thanks. You'll discover why prices exploded overnight, who's really behind the hikes, and which foods might disappear from your cart next. We'll also expose the hidden causes, from climate chaos to global shortages, most people don't even know about. So if you want to understand where your grocery money is really going, stick around. Some of these price jumps will shock you. Welcome to the channel, your guide to surviving the rising cost of living. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a story behind the price tags. Number 10, cereal. Before we talk about what's happening to breakfast bowls across America, let's take a closer look at something that used to be a weekly staple: cereal. For decades, cereal was the easy, affordable choice for busy mornings. Whether you had kids or just wanted a quick bite before work, grabbing a box off the shelf was simple. But now, many shoppers are shocked by how much it costs, and some are walking away altogether. One of the biggest reasons starts with something most people don't think about: packaging. Cereal boxes may seem like cardboard and ink, but in recent years, the cost of producing those colorful boxes has gone up dramatically. Paper prices have jumped due to inflation, labor shortages in manufacturing, and rising fuel costs for shipping. Even the plastic liners inside the boxes, the ones that keep your cereal crunchy, have become more expensive to produce. But that's not all. The ingredients inside the box are getting pricier too. Sugar, corn, and wheat, key components in many cereals, have all seen sharp price increases. Droughts and poor harvests have limited supply, while global demand has stayed high. And here's something most people don't realize: cereal companies are also facing higher costs for advertising, store placement, and even cartoon mascots. These expenses might seem small, but they all add up and eventually show up on the price tag. Number 9, baby food. Before we talk about how something as essential as baby food has quietly become more expensive, let's look at a growing concern for parents everywhere. Feeding a baby was never cheap, but in recent years, the cost of store-bought baby food has gone up so fast that many parents are now making a shocking choice. They're skipping it altogether. The problem starts with supply chain issues that most people don't even think about. Baby food brands rely on a steady supply of fresh fruits and vegetables, but climate change, extreme weather, and labor shortages have made farming more unpredictable. Crops get delayed, quality drops, and prices rise before the food even reaches the factory. But here's something most people don't realize: baby food has to meet much stricter safety and production standards than regular food. That means extra testing, special packaging, and tighter controls from farm to jar. All of this adds layers of cost that regular groceries don't carry. And then there's the packaging itself. Glass jars, plastic pouches, and sterilized containers, all used to keep baby food safe, have gotten more expensive to produce. Rising fuel costs also mean shipping these lightweight but high-volume products is no longer cheap. As a result, what used to be a $1 or $2 pouch now often costs $3 or more, and for organic or specialty brands, even higher. Number 8, almond milk. Before we talk about what's happening to your morning smoothie or coffee creamer, let's take a closer look at something that quietly got more expensive: almond milk. Once one of the fastest growing alternatives to dairy, almond milk became a go-to for people looking for a lighter, plant-based option. But lately, that carton in your fridge has been costing a lot more, and some shoppers are starting to notice. The reason starts far from your kitchen, deep in the almond orchards of California. You see, almond trees need a lot of water, more than most crops. And California, which produces over 80% of the world's almonds, has been hit hard by long-term droughts. Water shortages have forced farmers to make tough choices, and many have had to cut back on almond production just to survive. But here's something most people don't realize: almond milk isn't mostly almonds, it's mostly water. In fact, many brands use only about 2% almonds in their milk. The rest is water, sugar, and additives. But when the water gets scarce and expensive, even those small almond portions become harder to grow. Number 7, salmon, seafood. Before we talk about what's happening to your dinner plate, let's look at one of the most shocking price jumps in the seafood aisle: Salmon, once a go-to for healthy meals, salmon was praised for its omega-3s, flavor, and versatility. Now, many shoppers are stunned by how much it costs, and some are skipping it altogether. The problem starts far from your local grocery store, out at sea. Overfishing has become a growing issue in many parts of the world. Wild salmon stocks have been dropping for years due to heavy commercial fishing and changes in ocean temperatures. That means fewer fish are being caught, and when supply drops, prices rise fast. But here's something most people don't realize. Even farmed salmon isn't cheap anymore. Fish farms face rising costs too, from feed made with smaller fish, which are also getting harder to catch, to disease outbreaks that can wipe out entire pens. Keeping farm salmon healthy and market-ready takes more time, care, and money than ever before. And then there's shipping. Seafood is often imported from places like Norway, Canada, or Chile. With fuel prices up and global shipping routes facing delays, bringing fresh salmon to U.S. stores has become more expensive. And those costs get passed on to you. As a result, a single pound of fresh salmon that used to cost around $12 now regularly hits $18 or more. And wild-caught varieties often cost even higher. Families are reacting by switching to cheaper proteins like chicken or canned tuna. Some are buying frozen salmon to save money, but even that option has gotten pricier. What makes this even more surprising is that just a few years ago, salmon was a regular part of meal plans and diet trends. Now, it's becoming a special occasion dish for many, and if even seafood is getting too expensive. Number 6. Cheese. Before we talk about what's happening to your favorite dairy aisle staple, let's take a closer look at something that used to be a regular part of every fridge: cheese. Whether you love cheddar, mozzarella, or Swiss, cheese has always been a go-to ingredient for sandwiches, snacks, and meals. But lately, even basic cheese blocks are costing more than before, and many shoppers are feeling the squeeze. The reason starts on the farm, with milk. Cheese is made from milk, and milk prices have gone up due to rising feed costs, labor shortages, and fewer cows in major dairy regions. With less milk coming in, cheese production has slowed down, and when supply drops, prices go up fast. But here's something most people don't realize. Making cheese isn't as simple as it looks. It takes around 10 pounds of milk to make just 1 pound of cheese. That means even a small increase in milk prices has a big effect on the final cost of cheese. And when fuel and packaging prices also rise, the impact hits even harder. At the same time, demand for cheese hasn't dropped. If anything, it's gone up. From pizza chains needing more mozzarella to families buying snack packs, there's still strong pressure on an already tight supply. As a result, a standard block of cheddar that used to cost $4 now regularly hits $6 or more, and specialty cheeses often cost even higher. Many shoppers are reacting by buying less, switching to cheaper store brands, or using alternatives like processed cheese slices. Some are even skipping cheese altogether in their meals. What makes this even more surprising is that cheese used to be one of the most affordable parts of your grocery bill. Now, it's becoming a luxury for many, and if even cheese is getting too expensive. Number 5, milk. Before we talk about what's happening to one of the most basic drinks in your fridge, let's take a closer look at something that used to be a household staple: milk. For generations, milk was seen as a simple, affordable part of daily life, especially for families with kids. But now, many households are noticing how much more it costs. And some are even skipping it altogether. The reason starts far from your breakfast table. On dairy farms across the country, milk prices have been rising fast due to a mix of factors. And one of the biggest is inflation. The cost of feed for cows has gone up sharply. Corn, soy, and other grains, key parts of a cow's diet, have become more expensive due to poor harvests and high global demand. But here's something most people don't realize: milk doesn't stay fresh on its own. It needs to be collected, cooled, transported, and processed, all within hours of being milked. That means fuel costs, labor shortages, and refrigeration expenses all play a role in how much you pay at the store. And when gas prices go up, so does your gallon of milk. At the same time, fewer dairy farms are in operation than just a decade ago. Many small farms have closed due to financial pressure, leaving fewer suppliers to meet the same level of demand, and that imbalance pushes prices even higher. Number 4, ground beef. Before we talk about what's happening to one of America's favorite proteins, let's take a closer look at something that used to be a regular part of dinner night: ground beef. For decades, ground beef was the go-to for burgers, tacos, meatloaf, and more. It was affordable, versatile, and always on hand. But now, many families are stunned by how much it costs, and some are walking away altogether. The reason starts long before it hits your plate, out on cattle farms across the country. One of the biggest issues, the cost of feed. Cows need a lot of food to grow, and the price of corn, soy, and other grains has gone up sharply in recent years. Droughts, poor harvests, and rising global demand have all made animal feed more expensive, and those costs get passed directly to consumers at the meat counter. But here's something most people don't realize. Raising cattle is getting harder in more ways than one. Labor shortages in farming and meatpacking plants have also played a big role. Fewer workers mean slower processing, longer wait times, and higher wages for those who remain, all of which push up the final price of beef. At the same time, environmental regulations and land use restrictions have made it harder for ranchers to expand herds. That means fewer cows being raised and less supply to meet steady demand. As a result, a pound of 80/20 ground beef that used to cost around $3 now regularly hits $5 or even $6, and premium cuts cost even more. Families are reacting by switching to cheaper meats like chicken or plant-based alternatives. Some are buying less beef overall, making it a treat instead of a weekly staple. What makes this even more surprising is that ground beef used to be seen as the budget-friendly cut. Now, for many, it's becoming a luxury, and if even beef is getting too expensive. Number 3, organic produce. Before we talk about what's happening to your health-conscious shopping list, let's take a closer look at something that used to be the go-to for clean eating: organic produce. For years, more and more people have been choosing organic fruits and vegetables, believing they're healthier, safer, and better for the planet. But lately, many shoppers are starting to question whether the price is still worth it. The reason starts on the farm, where growing organic food isn't as simple as it seems. Unlike conventional farming, organic farming bans the use of synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. That means farmers have to rely on more expensive, labor-intensive methods to protect their crops, like hand weeding, natural pest control, and crop rotation. All of this makes organic farming slower, riskier, and more costly. But here's something most people don't realize. The cost of going organic doesn't stop at the field. Organic certification itself is expensive. Farmers must pay for inspections, paperwork, and special labeling, all just to prove their food meets the official standards. And those costs don't stay on the farm, they make their way straight into your grocery bill. At the same time, organic farms often face lower yields. Without chemical help, crops can be more vulnerable to pests, disease, and weather changes. When less food makes it to market, prices rise fast. As a result, an organic head of lettuce that used to cost $2 now hits $3.50 or more. Organic strawberries, bell peppers, and apples often cost double their non-organic versions, sometimes even triple. Many shoppers are reacting by skipping organic labels altogether, buying conventionally grown produce instead, or washing their fruits and veggies more carefully. What makes this even more surprising is that organic food was once seen as a smart investment in health. Now, for many families, it's simply too expensive to keep buying. And if even organic produce is getting too pricey, number 2, canned tuna. Before we talk about what's happening to one of the most convenient meals in your pantry, let's take a closer look at something that used to be a lunchbox staple: canned tuna. For decades, tuna sandwiches were a go-to for school kids, office workers, and busy parents. It was cheap, filling, and easy to make. But now many shoppers are stunned by how much it costs, and some are walking away altogether. The reason starts far from your kitchen, out at sea. Overfishing has become a growing problem in many parts of the world. Certain types of tuna, like albacore and yellowfin, are being caught faster than they can reproduce. In response, governments have started imposing stricter fishing limits to protect wild populations, which means less tuna is making it to market. But here's something most people don't realize. Catching tuna isn't as simple as it used to be. Modern fishing boats travel farther and run longer to find enough fish. That means more fuel, more time, and more labor, all of which drive up costs. Number 1, yogurt. Before we talk about what's happening to one of America's favorite snacks, let's take a closer look at something that used to be a daily go-to: yogurt. For years, yogurt was marketed as the perfect mix of healthy and convenient. Whether you were grabbing a quick breakfast or a midday snack, a chilled cup of yogurt felt like a smart choice. But now, many shoppers are noticing how much more it costs. And some are walking away altogether. The reason starts with one key ingredient: milk. Yogurt is made mostly from milk, and as we've already seen in this list, milk prices have gone up sharply in recent years. Rising feed costs for cows, labor shortages on farms, and higher transportation expenses have all made milk more expensive. And that cost gets passed directly to yogurt producers, and then to you. But here's something most people don't realize. Making yogurt isn't just about the dairy, it also requires sugar, flavorings, fruit, and packaging, all of which have gotten more expensive too. The small plastic cups, foil lids, and refrigerated storage throughout the supply chain add layers of cost that many shoppers don't even think about. At the same time, yogurt brands have been hit by inflation in unexpected ways. From factory wages to advertising budgets, every part of production has seen price hikes, and companies have had to raise retail prices to stay in business. As a result, a six-pack of single-serve yogurts that used to cost around $3 now regularly hits $5 or more. And premium or organic brands often cost even higher. Many families are reacting by buying larger tubs instead of individual cups, switching to cheaper store brands, or skipping yogurt altogether in favor of eggs, fruit, or oatmeal. What makes this even more surprising is that yogurt used to be seen as an affordable, healthy option. Now, for many, it's becoming a treat they can only afford occasionally. And if even yogurt is getting too expensive, before we talk about what this list really means, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. You've just seen 17 items that people are no longer buying because they've become too expensive. But here's the truth. These aren't random price hikes. They're part of a much larger trend, on one that's quietly reshaping how we eat, what we buy, and how much we spend every week. Let's start with inflation, the invisible force making everything more expensive. It's not just groceries, rent, utilities, but even your phone bill has probably gone up. And when the cost of living rises across the board, food isn't spared, wages haven't kept up, but prices have, and that's putting pressure on every household. But there's more than just inflation at play. The supply chain, the system that moves food from farms to your table, has been under stress for years. Delays at ports, shortages of truck drivers, and higher shipping costs have all added up. That means it takes longer and costs more to get food into stores, and those costs end up on your receipt. Then there's labor, or rather, the lack of it. Farms, factories, and food processing plants are struggling to find enough workers. Without enough hands on deck, production slows down, mistakes happen more often, and wages go up to attract help, all of which gets passed on to shoppers like you. And we can't ignore climate change, the growing force behind many of these price jumps. Droughts, heat waves, floods, and unpredictable weather patterns are hitting crops hard. From avocados to almonds, fruits to grains, farming is becoming riskier and more expensive. Some farmers are even switching to less water-intensive crops, meaning less supply and higher prices for the foods we used to take for granted. Fuel costs also play a hidden role. Transporting food from farm to shelf requires trucks, ships, and planes, all of which run on fuel. When gas prices go up, so does the cost of moving food around the world. That affects everything from fresh berries to frozen pizza. And finally, packaging. Something most people don't think about until they see the price tag. Plastic, cardboard, aluminum, all have gotten more expensive due to inflation and global demand. Even the ice used to keep seafood fresh during transport costs more now than it did just a few years ago. So while each item on this list has its own story, they all share the same problem: rising costs across the entire food system. And as these pressures grow, before we talk about how people are fighting back against rising grocery costs, let's look at something many families are now doing out of necessity, not choice. With so many once affordable items now priced out of reach, shoppers aren't just complaining, they're changing their habits. And some of these changes might surprise you. One of the biggest trends: switching to store brands. Instead of paying extra for name brand peanut butter or cereal, more people are choosing cheaper in-store labels. These products often taste the same, come from the same factories, but cost less. And that makes a big difference when every item is getting pricier. Another shift: cooking more from scratch. People are buying raw ingredients instead of pre-made meals. Instead of spending $5 on a frozen pizza, some are making their own using cheaper dough, sauce, and cheese. Others are swapping expensive baby food for homemade purees, boiling and blending fruits and veggies themselves. And then there's the rise of discount shopping. More people are hitting up stores like Aldi, Dollar Tree, and Winco, where prices are lower and bulk buying helps stretch budgets further. Some are even using apps and price tracking tools to find the best deals before they shop. But it's not just about where people shop, it's also about what they buy. Many are skipping non-essentials altogether. That means no more daily avocado toast, no fancy yogurt cups, and fewer salmon dinners. Some are even cutting back on milk by switching to alternatives like oat or rice milk, or drinking less dairy overall. And here's something most people don't realize. Some are growing their own food. Backyard gardens are making a comeback. From tomatoes and peppers to herbs and lettuce, more families are planting their own produce to avoid high supermarket prices. Even small container gardens on balconies are helping reduce weekly grocery bills. What makes this shift even more interesting is that these habits aren't just temporary fixes. Many are becoming long-term lifestyle changes. As people get used to cooking more, shopping smarter, and growing their own, they're realizing they can live well without spending as much. And if shoppers are already finding ways to adapt, before we go, let's take one last look at what this list really shows us. This isn't just about avocados, eggs, or yogurt. It's not even just about food. This is about how our everyday lives are being reshaped, quietly, steadily, by rising costs we didn't see coming. People aren't choosing to stop buying these items because they don't want them anymore. They're being forced to make tough choices because prices have simply gone too far. And while some of these changes might feel out of your control, there are things you can do, like shopping smarter, cooking from scratch, or switching to cheaper alternatives. Subscribe to Daily Dollar Watch and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown of what's really happening to your money. And most importantly, tell us in the comments, what's gotten so expensive for you that you've stopped buying it altogether? We read every comment and we want to hear your story. Thanks for watching. And remember, your dollar still matters. You just need to know where it's going.